Let's go one by one real quick on the plugins.
I say, look me in my eyes, boy, you know this pain deep. I gotta keep that heat on me. I can barely sleep, waking up 3 in the morning. Someone telling me I ain't got too much longer. It's crazy how life works, but that's just how this shit goes. I don't care where we at, if I see that boy, I bet I scope. I'ma knock his head off and walk him down, hit him some more. I'm feeling empty inside. I'm feeling empty inside. I say, look me in my eyes, boy, you know this pain deep. I say, look me in my eyes, boy, you know this pain deep.
So when I'm recording his vocals, I really only have 3 plugins on, and that's the de-esser, the SSL channel, and the CLA 76. And so this is what we got with just those real quick.
I say, look me in my eyes, boy, you know this pain deep. I gotta keep that heat on me. I can barely sleep, waking up 3 in the morning.
Everything else is going to be just minor cleanups, and I try to keep it as minimalistic as possible because you can get way ahead of yourself and overdo the mixing process by filling in every single one of these plugin slots and having them all activated. What I mainly want to show y'all is how I EQ and how I compress in the EQ itself. So this is the default setting right here, and this is what I'll do while I'm playing his vocals out.
I say, look me in my eyes, boy, you know this pain deep. I gotta keep that heat on me. I can barely sleep, waking up 3 in the morning. Someone telling me I ain't got too much longer. It's crazy how life works, but that's just how this shit goes. I don't care where we at, if I see that boy, I bet I scope. I'ma knock his head off.
When it comes to EQing low frequencies, you gotta find the balance between a thin vocal and a vocal that sounds too boomy. Find that balance. And with the high end, you can hear a lot of the harshness, especially on cheaper microphones. You want to sweep around the high mid frequency area and find a frequency that's annoying and then just reduce it until you don't hear it and then bring it back a little bit. Also, as I'm EQing, typically the CLA 76 is already on because I have this on from the jump when I'm recording, and this is a pretty default standard setting I'll have on the compressor. With the CLA 76, what I'm trying to achieve is I want his vocals to sit in the center and not move too far in front of you or too far behind you, meaning I don't want it to be really loud at some parts and really quiet at other parts. If I feel like his vocals are also too thin, I'll take this input knob and boost it up a little bit till I feel like there's more body inside of his vocals. Then I'll use the attack and release settings to find a good punch where you can hear every single lyric clearly. You can hear all the consonants. In the output, I will adjust if I feel like I need to raise his vocals or I need to bring it back a little bit.
I say, look me in my eyes, boy, you know this pain deep. I say, look me in my eyes, boy, you know this pain deep. I gotta keep that heat on me.
I don't even really look at the meter when I'm doing compression. I don't really pay attention to this until after I'm done, and I'll just check it just to see where we're hitting at. Some beats, you're gonna drive this compressor really hard in order for you to get the vocals to sit in the right pocket. These two both sound different. I've just always used the Bluey, switch back and forth and find one that sounds good and use that one. Every EQ setting is going to be different, so do not copy my settings, but try to apply the philosophy that I'm using so that way you can use it in your own songs. These are the frequencies that I'm sweeping out, and I'll try to explain why I chose these frequencies. So these frequencies I'm taking out because you hear when it rings, when it gets kind of annoying. If you actually look on the frequency graph right here, so all these points are peaks right here. So you could use the Pro Q3 to kind of help you and guide you to hear where the peaks are. Find one that kind of rings out and is overpowering the rest of the balance and sweep it down. Every single band is a dynamic band. Vocals, they're not one steady frequency. Some frequencies jump out at certain times and some frequencies don't jump out at certain times. That's why I choose to have my bands in dynamic mode. So every time that a frequency peaks, this EQ will automatically take it down and remove it as it's peaking.
I say, look me in my eyes, boy, you know this pain deep.
Now we have another EQ, same principle, dynamic EQs. Let's isolate these frequencies and see what the fuck we got going on. Then I have another compressor after it, and I'll actually have this bypassed unless I absolutely need it. But I will engage it only when, if I hear his vocals are still too dynamic after the CLA 76. I had this on auto release, so I didn't even have to think about using the release.
I say, look me in my eyes, boy, you know this pain deep. I say, look me in my eyes, boy, you know this pain deep.
After that, we have a Soothe 2, just cleaning up the rest of the high frequencies here. This is on and off.
I say, look me in my eyes, boy, you know this pain deep. I gotta keep that heat on me. I can barely sleep, waking up 3 in the morning. Someone telling me I ain't got too much longer. It's crazy how life works.
After being tamed with the Soothe, I felt like we lost a little bit of gain there, so I used the Rvox to kind of grab everything in his vocals and push him up just a little bit.
I say, look me in my eyes, boy, you know this pain deep. I say, look me in my eyes, boy, you know this pain deep.
Now, in terms of my reverb choices, every song is going to be different, so don't copy my reverb settings. But here's my philosophy on why I chose the concert hall and chose the low cut and high cut where it's at, as well as the decay and pre-delay. So if you want your vocals to sound further back, use a shorter pre-delay. If you want his vocals to still sound up front and present, but you still want to create a space, use a longer pre-delay. With the decay, while I'm listening to the beat and the vocals, I listen to the tail end of the reverb, and I want it to end right in time, so that way his next bar is not getting washed out by the same reverb from the last bar. Now with the EQ section, so you just don't want the high end and the hi-hats or his vocals to be clashing with the high end and the reverb. And with the low cut, it's the same thing, but on the opposite side of the frequency spectrum. You just don't want any low end instruments to cloud up and get washed out by a low end reverb. This is what it sounds like with the hall turned up a lot.
I say, look me in my eyes, boy, you know this pain deep.
So I just have that turned down to the point where you feel the reverb, but you don't necessarily hear it overpowering anything. For my ad-libs, it's nothing special. It's literally the same exact chain. Turn them down to the point where they're in the back and pan them. Play around with that. You can see I have this one panned here to the left at 43. And I have some down here panned to the right at 46. So get him out the way of the lead vocal, take out some low end and some high end so it doesn't clash with the high end in his lead vocals or the high end in the beat or any of the other instruments, and create its own frequency space for this to live in, so that way you can clearly hear it and it's not competing with anything. On top of that, we got one more reverb. This is an air reverb. I wanted a different reverb type than the lead vocals to create kind of a contrast, but still create a space for the ad-libs to sit in. This is the reverb on that turned up.
In the morning, someone telling me I ain't got too much longer. It's crazy how life works, but that's just how.
In short, my philosophy is make sure everything has its own frequency space and can be clearly heard. If the beat is really, really bright and you have hi-hats that have a lot of top end on it and a lot of air on it, maybe your vocals should be the opposite, warm and darker. If you want more high end with your vocals, then you might need to find a way to blend in the hi-hats, the snare, and a lot of the top end instruments and fine tune it so that way the high end in a vocal isn't necessarily hitting at the same frequency as the hi-hats, the snare, and all the high end instruments. If you guys like this video, don't forget to subscribe, leave me a like. Thank y'all for watching. If you want a mix done by me, hit me on Instagram or my email, and I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one, man. Peace out.